We are going to begin this meeting of the Coos County Board of Commissioners on January 20th, 2023. Please join me in Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now a moment of silence. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay. First item up is the Library Service District request for, let's see. Actually, I'm sorry. First thing up, yes, that's right, is resolution 2306-120B. Megan, good morning.
Good morning. Do we need to recess as the Board of Commissioners?
Yes. We need to open
recess as the Board of Commissioners and reconvene as a library.
That's right. So we're going to recess as the Board of Commissioners and reopen as the Library Governing Board, governing body. Thank you for that. Okay, now.
So this is the resolution adopting the budget, making appropriations, levying and categorizing taxes for 23-24.
I move we approve and sign resolution 2306-0120B.
A second?
A second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next, we have resolution 2306-109B, additional appropriation in the Library Service District. Megan?
So this resolution just adds appropriations to ensure that I have enough to pass through all of the funds that we receive through the end of the fiscal year.
Very good.
So I approve I move that we approve and sign resolution 2306-109B.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Rob Taylor.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Bobby. How you doing? We want to make sure, I don't know what authority you guys have over the libraries. I'm not even sure what this even covers. If this covers the Coos Bay Library, does this cover the Bandon Library? All of this is in part in one. Okay, this is something that has been going on across this country. You have to watch some of the materials that are going on in these libraries. I'm not for censorship. But I do think if there are children's areas that they should be restricted of things that are X-rated, sexually explicit, and that's just something I think if you're part of this, it's your guys' responsibility to make sure that's not happening. We just had the library, I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before that. Rod, you know about this. They had the they were listed as one of the sponsors of the drag queen event in the park. I don't know about you, but I don't know what libraries have to do with drag queens, but I think it's absolutely ridiculous that that's going on in our libraries. And you know, if they want to have those, I have no problem. In fact, I support everyone's right to get the freak on in the park as long as there's not anything that's too vulgar happening. But I don't want the library to be part of it. And as someone who's a taxpayer, I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I would just follow on that comment and say that, you know, I agree that the county libraries should not be purveyors of things that are inappropriate for children.
and should uphold the broader community standard. So, you know, that's a bigger poll than we can accomplish here in this resolution. So, attendant with this, I would say that I agree with you. It is incumbent on us. It is our job ultimately to make sure that the library contents comport with community standards in the broader sense. And so I will actually take it upon myself to make sure that we are taking steps to verify that propriety. So thank you for those comments, Rob. Appreciate that. Any other discussion on this? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Jennings?
this is Bobby. Hear me? Hello? Hello?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is
Morning,
David
David.
Jennings. I live in Coquille. I was involved in the formation of the district in its present form, and I served on the county library board for 8 years. I think it's important that people understand that the district was a compromise proposal, and the structure of the district is such that while the financial decisions are made by the counties, the libraries and the selection of the material for those libraries is in the hands of the city governments and the citizens in those cities. And I appreciate that people have concerns about this, but decisions regarding selection of material or whether they're appropriate, I don't think are at all appropriate to be discussed at the county commissioner level. If people have concerns about those, that you have a city council in all these cities, and you have a library board within these cities, with the exception of Dora, but it also has a library board based in the community. So I really find it somewhat ominous that there would be a suggestion that the county commissioners would have any role in selecting material for libraries, because the whole formation of the district is that there would be a certain amount of money allocated to them. The cities or the library itself, in the case of Dora, would be responsible for funding decisions regarding the buildings and things like that. And that they would also have control over the collection. So I don't see any role at all for the county commissioners to be involved in the materials or the books or the magazines or whatever. And I think it'd be a real mistake for the board to get involved in that in any form whatsoever.
Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation.
Any other comments? Mr. Wilbanks?
Good morning, Commissioners. Matt Wilbanks, Coos Bay. Regarding the last gentleman's comments, you guys are given monetary authority over that board and that district for a reason. Obviously, I do agree with him to the aspect that Coos Bay, North Bend, Bandon, et cetera, the individual libraries should be given the initial choice of what to put in the library, but there's oversight for a reason. If they were the ones with sole authority to decide what goes in there, they'd be given control of the purse strings. So it's a bit of a cop out, in my opinion, to say that you guys have absolutely no say in it. You absolutely do have say because you control our money going to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, all my comments stand as they were. Yes, Charlotte.
Hi, Commissioners. Charlotte Carver from Bandon. I just want to say I attended the Pride in the Park event. I saw the drag queen story time. It was a person dressed up in costume. There was no sexual content, any performance. It was sitting down and reading a book. I really want to encourage you to, if there are concerns about any of the library's activities, to reach out to the library directors. We have really great library directors in Coos County at each of the libraries, and they're really respectable, trustworthy, honest people. I have a lot of faith and trust in our libraries, and just wanted to say that.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, any other comments? We have a motion and a
Mr.
second.
Chair?
Yep.
Sure. This is Bob.
Yeah. Commissioner May?
Just a comment, because of the library's actions and various other businesses around the county, my wife and I do not participate or go and visit those businesses or the libraries anymore.
Thank you.
Okay, so we still have this appropriations movement that we need to act on. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2306-121B, adopting the budget, making appropriations, levying, and categorizing taxes for 2023 and 2024. Megan?
We have to close.
Yeah,
Sure.
library.
Reopen
Yes,
that
we
seat.
do. We have to close the library board and reconvene as the, now on 4-H, are we convening as the county commission again?
No.
As the 4-H
As the
governing
4-H.
body. Thank you. Consider us reconvened. Bear with me, guys. This is my my first chairing a meeting, so.
You're doing great.
Okay, thank you. So now, I've already read the title, Megan.
So this is the resolution adopting the budget, making appropriations, levying, and categorizing taxes for 23-24 for the 4-H and Extension Service District.
I move we approve and sign resolution 2306-121B.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any
Second.
discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Now we are going to close
that,
as the
we-
4-H governing body and reconvene as the county commission. Resolution 2306-119B, adopting the budget, making appropriations, levying, and categorizing taxes for 2023-2024. Megan?
This is the resolution adopting the budget, making appropriations, levying, and categorizing taxes for fiscal year 23-24 for the county.
This is why we had all those budget meetings.
I move we approve and sign resolution 2306-119B.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution 2305-107B, additional appropriations in the opioid settlement fund.
So this is adding appropriations so that we're able to pay the contracts with Bay Area First Step with opioid settlement funds. We just received way more than we anticipated.
And when was that payment received?
There was multiple payments received throughout the year, so I waited till they were all in.
Okay.
I move we approve and sign resolution 2305-107B.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
How much?
It's $200,000.
We have Pam
This
Lewis.
is adding 200,000, but we actually received like 500,000, so whatever's left will be carried forward to the next fiscal year.
And a lot of this was given to, has been or will be given to Bay Area First Step.
Right.
Under some grant agreements we have for providing additional services.
Pam Lewis, Oak Hill. What oversight do we have on where the opioid money is spent in that? What kind of results are we getting out of this money spent?
Well, the money is going to Bay Area First Step.
Correct.
And they've demonstrated, I think, very good accountability to the board and to the general population of the county, and by all accounts have been doing a very good job with what they do. That's the basis on which we have approved other funds for them in the past.
And I can piggyback on that and say that we have grant agreements with them, and there's specific deliverables that and projects that they're doing under those. So for example, in one, they're completing additional housing, and it's going to be dedicated to people with opioid use disorder. And within that grant agreement, we have the ability to, audit them and look at their books and records to ensure that that's what they're doing. So as is typical of most grant agreements.
Sure, are we seeing improvement in our community with their services? And I know it's slow going, but are we seeing that?
I think we see they're doing a good job.
Yes, I think that's
It's pretty
true.
hard to determine how we're doing, how that relates to
Affects.
what's going on community-wide.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a mobile population, and, they come and go. So.
yes.
I'm going to indulge in a story that I shared in executive session and play it again for this one.
Okay.
There's a guy walking down the beach, and he sees thousands and thousands and thousands of starfish on the beach.
Yes, sir.
And there's a second guy walking the other way, and every once in a while he stops and he picks one and he throws it out in the water. And the first guy finally gets to him and he says, what are you doing? That doesn't matter in the light of all these numbers. And the guy bends over, he picks one up, he throws it in the water, he goes, it mattered to that one.
Correct.
So, it's a huge
that
problem.
On that note, let me propose more adoption of children,
Absolutely.
because it matters to that one.
Point
However,
stipulated.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that we're paying attention, because the opioid disease is huge. And as an ER nurse, I have seen busloads dropped off from other towns into our county and had to treat them in ERs. So I want us to really be paying attention as to what their services and how well they're able to kind of function with that. I care about that a lot. Make sense?
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you
thanks.
for that. Any other comments? Yeah, Charlotte?
Hey Commissioners, I'm Charlotte Carver from Bandon. I'm also on the Coos County Alcohol and Drug Planning Committee, or LADPC. I had some questions that Megan was already able to answer for me about the opioid settlement funds. I think it is great news that we are receiving more funds than expected for the opioid settlement funds. It is absolutely true that we are living through an opioid epidemic right now, and these funds are going to be a new long-term funding source coming to our community to address the opioid epidemic. Really want to say I appreciate Commissioner Taylor coming to our Alcohol and Drug Planning Committee last month. Looking forward to our upcoming meeting where we get to share some of the results of the needs assessment that we've completed. We have been looking at current services, current need, and identifying priorities for expanding services in Coos County to make sure that our strategies are effective and going to have the greatest long-term impact in addressing the addiction problem that we have in Coos County. So really looking forward to continued conversations about how we can best use these funds. And I think that we have a really great opportunity to make a big difference in our community with this.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a critically important issue that impacts the quality of life for all of us, really does. We have a motion and a second. Any other
Sure.
discussion? Hearing none, all in
Sure.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, transfer of expenditure appropriations within the general fund, resolution 2305108B. Megan?
So this is transferring $102,618 from operating contingency to multiple departments to cover the cost of payroll line item shortages due to the Teamsters insurance increase for non-union employees and a missed longevity increase in counsel's office.
I move we approve.
Mr.
and
Chair,
sign
move to approve and sign.
23-05-108B.
And was that a motion, Commissioner Main?
Well, I started. I second.
So,
It seems to be, there's a time delay.
Yes, there is. That's because you're 3,000 miles away. So far away from me. All right, we have motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, last fiduciary item, resolution 23061110B, creating a reserve fund for capital purchases.
So during the budget process for fiscal year '24, it was approved to form the Health and Wellness Reserve Fund. This resolution forms the fund effective July 1st, 2023.
Move to approve and sign resolution 23-06-110B.
And I second
Did you
that.
get me?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to point out to the audience that the funds come from health and wellness, not from any of the county tax
From the
dollars.
state.
And that is true of all of the programs in health and wellness. Mr. Taylor.
What are the funds going to be used for? It kind of was left blank there.
It's in the resolution. It's used for capital purchases, including but not limited to vehicles, software, and IT equipment.
And this is coming from federal funding or?
Yes.
all of
State-
it
state and
federal
federal.
funding? So,
Mostly state.
once again, this is why this is so important that we never decouple from who's health and wellness, is this oversight right here. And this fund is a good example of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Any other discussion? No, hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are going to, let's see, actually, you know what, let's wrap up this one other, Megan
Can we
thing
do
so she
the
can
next
then.
three more?
Oh,
My
you
last
do?
one's actually G.
Your last one is G. Okay, I'm gonna revise this so that we can get through Megan and let her go and live her happy life. So let's move right now to 3E, request the Board of Commissioners to approve and sign the contract with Hellion Software Incorporated.
So this is the software that runs property tax collection, assessment, and handles all of our payments and the assessment of everything, and creates property tax statements and all of that fun stuff.
Okay,
I move that we approve and sign the contract with Hellion Software Incorporated for ORCAT's software support services for the period July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024, and adopt sole source findings.
Second.
okay, motion and a second. Do we have any conversation, any discussion on this one? Okay, hearing none. Go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and we're gonna skip now to 3G.
No, do F please first.
Oh, you want F?
Yeah,
You wanna
because
be in
that's,
that?
yeah, that's the policy.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right. Sounds good, let's do F then. Order 2306037L, approving a county policy on the distribution of tax foreclosure sale surplus.
Okay, I can start out with that. So in a recent Supreme Court case, Tyler v. Hennepin County, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that government entities may not retain any surplus generated from the sale of tax foreclosed property. Currently under ORS 275.2753, the county's distribution of foreclosure sale proceedings to taxing districts is not limited to the tax debt owed by the former property owner. Thus, the county must create its own process to ensure that our process is compliant with the Constitution. So Order 2306-03-37L, sorry, I have the number down wrong there, would create a process for distributing the surplus from tax foreclosure sales in a manner compliant with the takings clause in Supreme Court precedent. We discussed this order in a work session on June 6, 2023. And essentially our process will be that we will take the proceedings from the tax foreclosure sales. They will be applied to the county's costs incurred and then in whatever is left will be distributed to the taxing districts in the amount of the tax owed. And then any surplus remaining, we will send out notice to former property owners that they have a 90-day period in which to claim that surplus. And then if the surplus is unclaimed, then the remainder would go to the taxing districts as normal.
Right. We have a motion?
I move we approve and sign Order 2306037L, approving the county policy on the distribution of tax foreclosure sale surpluses.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll jump in and say that this is a resolution that I heartily endorse. I've always believed that it was wrong for counties to hold surplus value beyond the tax owed and costs incurred. And we worked through all of the potential costs rather exhaustively in the work session. And I'm very happy with the way that this is shaking out and going to move forward. And I think that the county is better off as well because it allows us as a county to continue the process that was started a couple of years ago, I believe. Is that right, Commissioner Sweet?
A few years.
To go in on these foreclosure properties and begin cleaning them up. And one of the things that we do by doing that is we tend to upgrade the kind of property owner that will be moving into that property. I think that the county saw previously a perpetuation of tax delinquency issues when properties were just sold as they were. You tended to get maybe not the same kind of people equally concerned about the appearance of the community and so forth. So this is really a super beneficial ordinance. I'm really happy about it. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, final one for Mrs. Sims. Resolution 2306130B, distribution of tax foreclosed property sale proceeds.
So this is the resolution following the policy that we just adopted, actually distributing the funds.
Yes.
And holding some of them for notification.
We have a motion?
So I move we approve and sign Resolution 2306130B.
Second.
We got a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will move Z, item 3Z to the front. Commissioner Sweet is going to be leaving us early today, and so we wanted to participate him in this discussion. Agenda item title is Order 2306036L, authorizing the closure of Coos County forest roads to unauthorized entry of motor vehicles. Motion?
I move we approve and sign Order 2306036L, authorizing the closure of county forest roads to unauthorized entry of motor vehicles.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is going to generate some conversation. Before we get into that, I just want to reprise quickly a conversation that I had with Rob Taylor yesterday on the radio. This resolution is not the end all. There are a few things to say about this. Number one, I hate having to do this. I despise having to do this. And this actually kind of breaks my heart a little bit, and I'll tell you why. It's because I campaigned for this seat. One of the topics that I campaigned on, I stood in front of a county forest gate and I said, I'll open these roads. Well, you know what? There was a lot of stuff I didn't know when I said that, and I didn't know just exactly how depraved some of my fellow Coos County citizens are. in the way that they treat our public lands that belong to all of us. That county forest is a 17,000 acre asset that belongs to all of us, and it's critical to the continuing fiscal function of this county. And we cannot risk, we can't risk losing any part of it to careless use of fire, which happens with regularity. And the more you can have motorized vehicles in on those county forest roads, the more likelihood you have of a catastrophic fire, a campfire getting out of control. Number one. Number two, the county cannot afford to continue having to send our personnel in to clean up garbage, household garbage, animal waste, boats, campers, all of that. I see so many familiar faces. You've all heard this. We can't afford to continue picking that stuff up. So this is not the end all. This is the beginning. We did agree that we're going to leave the Davis Creek Road open. We have a group that has stepped forward and volunteered to police that and make sure that it stays clean and that it's not abused. So that's going to be very helpful. There are other possibilities that we can engage in the coming weeks to find ways to open more of these roads. I think it's very important as county government that we find, whether it's accessing our public lands or whether it's the issue of community development, planning and building permitting, business licensure, any of these kinds of things, I think that the role of government is to find the most expeditious route to yes, not to no. And I think there's way too much no in government, and that does nothing but disempower our liberty and our economic activity, our economic freedom. So I'm very much looking forward to engaging conversations in a work session soon to come about taking some piecemeal approaches to try to address these problematic issues in ways that we can find constructive solutions that combine to allow us to open more of the county forest roads. So, and we are going to schedule a work session for that.
Recognizing the interest that this matter is giving rise to, I asked Bobby if we could schedule a work session, just as you were asking. And we have one scheduled for 2 p.m. next Wednesday, not tomorrow Wednesday, the 28th, a work session to discuss this very matter. So if you're interested in this, please come. We need your input.
So the objective here today is to go ahead and pass this resolution, which will in effect close the county roads except for Davis Creek. And then next Wednesday, we'll have another work session. And I encourage anyone and everyone to please come participate in this conversation, because this is not a problem that the county can solve on our own. We actually are going to really need extensive community involvement, both at the idea stage as well as at the execution stage with certain of these ideas. So with all that having been said, any discussion, please?
Teresa Avery, Bandon. Thank you, and I apologize I didn't come and speak on this when we were first speaking about this because I was out of town. Thank you, commissioners, for thinking about this. The problem of this is deeper than just trash in the county lands, because we know we have a large homeless problem, drug problem. So it's deeper than just the trash. One issue I've thought about is we have a very robust legal system pertaining to illegal hunting. I see it all the time in the paper where somebody, somehow they caught them with some illegal hunting transgression, and boy, did the law ever came down on them. Mm-hmm. So why can't we do that with this? Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of you guys know me, And I spent a lot of time hitchhiking around, kind of living a pretty crazy life when I was younger. And I lived, for a while, I camped in the forest up in Canada, British Columbia. And they have a legal issue up there where they have what's called crown land, and you have squatters' rights on crown land. They could not get you for camping on property. So what they did was they made this onerous fine for littering. I remember driving down the road, $5,000, and this was way back when, $5,000 for littering. And you betcha, my camp was crystal clean because I was just camping there, and we didn't have one piece of garbage on the ground because we knew if we got caught camping there, that's what they would get us for.
I appreciate that input very, very much. And I would encourage you to come back and talk again about this next Wednesday.
You betcha I will.
I would hope that we could wait until next Wednesday. I have another meeting I need to get to. It's fairly important. So trying to push through this agenda as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'd encourage everyone to talk today, but I'm going to encourage you to talk next week.
Thank you. I have just one more point, and that is that in many times our fundamental rights, whether it's our gun rights or our free speech rights, what will happen is they will curtail those because there's a few that are doing something wrong. And then they'll make this sweeping rule for everybody else. And to me, I see this kind of the same way. Anyway, I will be happy to speak at the
Thank you so much.
work session.
Thank you, Teresa.
Perfect.
All right. I see two more hands. If we can keep them very brief comment in light of the fact, please do come, Dick. In light of the fact that we will have this work session next Wednesday.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I give you a letter that was handed to you with this road number on it, RS 2477, that says any road created between 1866 to 10/21/1976 have to remain open. And this was off of February 2020. Bob Main gave me this. He wrote it on this paper. And we were talking about in February about the red bullseyes and the yellow signs out there on Lost Dog.
Mm-hmm.
And this was handed to me. I talked to him after the meeting, and this is what he wrote down. And I hope you guys take this in consideration, that there is a bill to keep the roads open. And there's things that we can do to get that trash and everything else cleaned up if the county would work with it.
Well, I certainly hope to see you Wednesday so we can engage those conversations at length.
I'll have to see what day it is. I've got appointments next week.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Dick. Mr. Thompson.
How are you gentlemen today?
Very well.
Well, this is going to be brief. You said, I don't see why you've got to pass this today if we're going to have a work session next week. Because I know from a fact, if you pass it today, you ain't never going to get it out. So I suggest you table this until after that work session and then have your vote, because you're giving us double jeopardy. You're taking the road, you're doing everything to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Main.
I might note that in the last couple of weeks, we've had 2 arsons out in the county forest.
Yeah, that's a stipulated point. We've had 2 arsons in the county forest in the last 2 weeks. And I'll also augment that by saying that in the last week, we've had a work session on this very issue. So, we have had extended conversations about it, and certainly there will be more. Okay. I've got hands still going up. I think you were next, Dave. Or
I could go 11. But we're doing
David Jennings from Coquille. I'll be very brief. We'll talk about this at more length later. I think we need to understand this is part of a general problem of criminal lawlessness in the rural areas of the county. And of course, it isn't just limited to the rural areas, but the board has primary responsibility in that area. And the only solution to this in the long term that's going to work is if you rebuild the criminal justice system to deal with it. And one of the absolutely vital components of that is you have to have a jail that has sufficient jail beds to hold people. You don't have that now. And, you know, the criminal justice system is not the only answer, but it's a crucial part of it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, my name's Richard Baxter. I live in Coos Bay. I've been around the area since 1969, and I know most everybody around here. The last gentleman basically said what I wanted to say, that I worked in that jail for 11 years. We had 250 beds when I went to work there in 2004. We got 49 beds now. We're out here cleaning up this forest we're trying to protect. We're cutting the hell out of it out there. And that money's being used for something. Why can't a small piece of that be allotted for some type of patrol out there and get our jails back open?
Okay.
We have to have something like that. I know you're in a hurry.
No, I know, I
just
just like to respond to that question. The money is used and we would have to make choices.
Yeah.
And
well,
let me finish. We can choose to pay for patrols out there. Highly unlikely you're gonna have enough people out there to catch someone at the moment they're dumping garbage or doing anything dangerous. The choice becomes, do we use it for that, or do we use it for the general fund, which is where the funding for the jail and the patrol and the district attorney's office come from. So those are the choices we're confronted with. So we're not doing this out of being selfish or anything else. We every day we have choices to make, right. And so what you're talking about, the need for improved community protection. Is very, very important.
Yeah, it's as the last gentleman said, it's a very crucial part of solving this problem.
Yep, absolutely it is. It's a great point to raise, and I appreciate you raising it. The reality is that you know, these budget items that we just passed earlier, these are all built on a $2.6 million deficit that we had to deal with this year. Mm-hmm. And so the fact of the matter is that, I mean, that's 2.6 million deficit, including all of the revenues from the county forest. So, you know, there really is not available resource to establish this additional patrol. As good as it would be, I do think that we need to find ways to fund that. But revenues from the county forest as it stands today really isn't the correct approach.
Well, I know you're in a hurry, and I'm an avid hunter, and there are camera systems that are very inexpensive that work by satellite and whatnot, and maybe our dispatchers could be watching some of that, and you see somebody hauling a big pile of trash in there, then send somebody out there.
So Richard, I would greatly encourage you to be here Wednesday, because camera systems is one of the research items that I've been working on over the last couple of months to try to figure out solutions to this. And I frankly haven't found one that looks like it's entirely suitable. Okay. So during the work session, these are the specifics we can get into. Please come with some information to contribute, and you know, let's try to work it out, because I do believe that camera systems are one aspect of that piecemeal approach I mentioned earlier. I think we can get there with more open roads, but it's going to take a very specific coordinated plan and some very specific information, like about cameras, for instance. So, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir. Matt?
Matt Schrecker, Coos Bay. I think it'd be important that the sheriff be here next Wednesday. He's gonna be part of this.
Yes.
And I don't know why he's not here today. So, I'm not trying to be negative to him, but I'm just.
He's sick today.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying, I think he needs to be a part of this discussion.
He's normally here.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he'll be here.
Yeah, and the sheriff, as well as Captain Sandmore, have been involved in the previous work session as well. So.
One other thing I think, until next week, everybody, and you guys maybe think about, is Kate Brown made some kind of a rule that you can't injure homeless monetarily. So if they pick them up shoplifting, they can't fine them, they can't take them to jail, and all these other things. They have to have a serious crime. So I agree with increasing penalties and stuff, but they're not doing anything that's already on the books, and they can't do anything to them. And those are the people that are causing all of this freedoms taken from the rest of us. So I don't see how this is going to be resulted when you have people busting in homeless here, and then our rights are taken. You look at Bassendorf Beach and what happened there. We can't even camp there now. And all these things are happening for, like the other lady said, about because of a few bad actors. And we all live here. We pay taxes. We're not the ones that, you know. So does that include Blue Ridge area?
It includes any road that goes into the Coos County forest, the lands that Coos County owns as forest lands, and those roads that go into those
So
lands.
all of
That's what it includes.
Yes.
Are you guys going to gate them?
Yes. Well, I mean, they already are gated. I think there might be one or two that aren't yet, but yeah, that's the plan.
what this is about. We're trying to find an answer.
I know.
to that.
I knew this agenda was today. I didn't know about next Wednesday. I don't know if they'll be able to be here, VA
Okay.
stuff, but.
Well, I'm sorry we didn't have an earlier announcement
I
on
get
that,
it, and I'm just throwing that out there, but I think what I already said, you guys.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
send us
yeah,
notes, but
that's
we'll
good.
keep it in mind.
And I do need to point out, Matt, that, you know, while the homeless population certainly is contributory to this in some measure, my personal view is that that's a really minor contribution.
I understand what you're saying. There's other people too.
Yeah, we have citizens of Coos County who may or may not be taxpayers. I don't know, but they go and unload entire pickup loads full of garbage over the edge of the road, willy-nilly, and you know, and it's. Closing the county forest roads doesn't stop this activity out on Seven Devils Road where it's epidemic, but it does stop it in the county forests. So as we whittle it down, we choke down the location options for people to engage this behavior. We enhance the likelihood of being able to catch these perpetrators with systems like cameras or you know, whatever else we come up with, citizen involvement, you know, reward system, enhanced penalties, all of it. I think there are a lot of pieces that go into this puzzle. So I didn't want the homeless people to be unfairly characterized.
I get it, but there's a lot of it.
Indeed.
I would say more than the rest, but I just. When, like the other gentleman said, when you take a right away or you close something, trying to get it back usually doesn't happen. And maybe, you know, because of the economy and costs and stuff, and I'm not saying some people are throwing stuff away when they got the money, but maybe there's something that could be something in the dump. You know, I saw it mentioned online, you know, a free day or something here and there so that people have another alternative.
Well, you know, there's no free lunch. There's also no free garbage. The fact is that everything that goes into that pit at the county dump, we have to pay to haul out. So, you know, if we have a free garbage day, that's gonna incur a very real cost because that material all has to be moved out. So, you know, a free garbage day is not really a solution in my view. I think that there are other approaches. we'll get deeper into that on Wednesday. I hope you can make it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I won't come up there, but I would like to say, wouldn't it be a whole lot cheaper to have a free dump day than to pay somebody to go get what they dump?
Yep.
And then pay for it anyway?
That could be, Richard. That's a calculus we can work through.
We've got to put this in there somehow.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna do it next
Last
week.
two comments, and then we're gonna shut it down.
I was here, guys, for that work session. It got really heated. I want all of you to know that there were only like 6 of us here. And so a lot of this falls on the responsibility of the people. And I agree with you, Rob,
Right.
that this is a multifaceted issue. I could tie urban renewal into this issue, believe it or not, using the homeless reason. But I agree with you, it's not homelessness. Phil always talks about a gate that's on Road 166G. It's the county road, the old dump road that goes to the old dump over on Seven Devils. I went out there and I was taking pictures of the cameras the guy had and the gate that he put up. And through Matt Wilbanks, of all people, that guy tracked me down. And we happen to be Facebook friends. In fact, we've had a lot of conversations. I know the gentleman now. His name is Andrew. He's a great guy, Phil. You should talk to Andrew. He's not a bad guy because it's not just his fault that there had to be a gate put up. This guy has spent $45,000 in the last several years of his own money pulling trailers, and all the trash that you showed in that PowerPoint, he could show you just as much trash because I got all the pictures that he sent me. And in fact, I've got the link to his camera where I got to watch people in really nice trucks pull up to his gate. One guy pulled up to his gate and realized he couldn't go any further. He dumped his trash right at the gate. Now, if you look beyond the gate, you're right, it does work. All the trash is gone, it's beautiful, there doesn't look like there's been any fires. All of that's great, but I looked at his neighbor and I thought, wow, this looks like a meth lab. After talking to Andrew, those aren't his neighbors. Those are squatters that he can't get the county to help him get rid of. And so this is a very multifaceted issue. And like I said, I don't blame you guys and I shouldn't have gotten so mad at you when I did about what your response was to this, because the response was something that I understand why you did it now after talking to Andrew and why that gate went up. And that's why I don't always agree with David Jennings, but he was right. He was right on target. And that's why we got to appreciate people who have different opinions, because they're going to be able to come up here and give you ideas that you never had before. And so I encourage all of you who are concerned about this issue, come here next Wednesday, right?
Yep.
What time?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. If you're not here and you don't do something about this, then you're part of the problem. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, last comment, Marty.
Actually, it was, you pretty much covered it all. All I wanted to say was, it's 2 p.m. next Wednesday, and it's here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll be here.
All right, awesome.
That's it.
Okay, that'll end the discussion on this one. We have first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that passes. Okay, thank you all for that. Now moving back up the agenda to 3H. Mr. Rowley, Oregon Health Authority Grant Agreement 179697-0. Take it away, Mr. Rowley.
Thank you, Roger. This grant is money's coming in for our workforce retention and recruitment. It's about $500,000, and it will be used through June of 2024.
I move we approve grant agreement with Oregon Health Authority and authorize the department head, Mike Rowley, to DocuSign. The amount of the grant is $456,757.
Second.
And we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. I notice this is specifically for behavioral health.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, it's a behavioral health workforce
That
initiative.
had been mentioned before. Thank
Moving
you.
on to 3I, first contract amendment with Columbia Care Services, RAP.
Yeah, this is an extension to a rental assistance program that we have with Columbia Care. They serve up to 15 clients at a time, and this money, it's $30,000 per year, supplements this program.
Rental assistance, did you say?
Yes.
Okay. I move we approve and sign the First Amendment to the contract with the Columbia Care Services.
First and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3J, first contract amendment to the A&D main contract with Bay Area First Step.
So this one is a extension of our contract with Bay Area First Step to provide peer delivered services as well as some transitional housing and emergency housing. The total value of this contract is about $107,000 per year, and it's extending through June of 2025.
Motion?
I move we approve and sign the first contract amendment to the, is that alcohol and drugs main contract with Bay Area First Step, A&D?
Yes.
Okay, we got a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 3K, third contract amendment to the Bay Area First Step contract for THE House.
Yes, this is another extension of a contract that we hold with Bay Area First Step. They took over the THE House a few years ago. This one does have an increase from $3,000 per month to $3,500 per month, and we are extending the contract through June of 2025.
I move we approve and sign the third contract amendment to the Bay Area First Step contract for the THE House. And I believe that's for 4 beds. That we
Yes, that is
contract
4
for
beds.
We got a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
3L, transfer of appropriation. Mike?
Yes, we are asking to transfer $400,000 from our operating contingency into 4 different accounts. We had postage go up and gas and repairs on our vehicles, as well as contracted services and IT equipment.
Okay.
I move that we approve the request for a transfer of appropriation.
First and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 3M, approval of amendment to the ASKME contract re-wages.
So this one I worked with Caroline on to prepare for me for our ASKME staff, and basically it is reorganizing the steps for a majority of our staff.
Okay.
I move we approve and sign amendment to the AFSCME CBA effective collective bargaining agreement effective July 1, 2023.
First and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
3N, revision of job description for public health director and public health administrator.
Yeah, this one, Caroline and I kind of went in and redid our public health administrator job description. It hadn't been updated in a while, and I think the last time it was done, it had like 5 or 6 pages. It was huge, so we tried to cut it back down. It's basically essentially the same information, it's just more concise.
Nice job. I move we approve the revised job description for the public health administrator / director position.
And we have a second. Any discussion? Based on a comment from Commissioner Main, got a copy of the red line version, and I must say it's much more readable now.
Thank you.
There's a lot of superfluosity in there. All right. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Now.
We have some late agenda
yes.
items for him.
Yeah. Let me get down to your lates and we'll go ahead and deal with those while you're at the table. The first one is 5A, Intergovernmental Agreement 180006-0 with Oregon Health Authority.
So this particular contract is a portion of the funding from our state contract for public health services. As I look down through it, some of it's for 3 months and some of it's for a full year. I guess it just depends on what the state was prepared to send over to us at this time.
I move we approve the intergovernmental agreement 180006-0 with Oregon Health Authority for funding of $878,091.36 and authorize the department head, Mike Riley, to sign.
First and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have 5B, employment agreement with Pallav Parikh, MD.
Right, so unfortunately, Dr. Parikh will be leaving us full-time at the end of June, but we were able to secure some temporary hours from him part-time. So we are requesting a contract with him for $1,600 a month to provide up to 16 hours of service for us.
Okay.
I move we approve and sign an employment agreement with Dr. Parikh in the amount of $1,600 per month.
Sir.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5C, approval of pay adjustments, mental health specialist 3.
So these are our program managers for behavioral health, and with the increases in funding that we've got and we've passed on through staff, we are requesting an increase for management as well. And that's what this does. So this actually changes the pay grade and then puts them on the new pay grade.
I move we approve amended pay scale 823 and sign resolution 23-06-136P addressing pay adjustments for the mental health specialist 3 position employees effective July 1, 2023.
Second.
Okay, we got a first and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we got quite a stack of them here, Mike. 5D.
Last one, right?
Approval of pay adjustments, pay grades 819 and 821.
So like the previous one, these are for our directors who are over our managers. So I'm requesting to change the pay scale and put these directors on their new pay scale.
Okay.
I move we approve amended pay scales 819 and 821 and sign resolution 23-06-137P addressing pay adjustments for the director positions at Coos Health and Wellness effective July 1, 2023.
It looks like Commissioner Main's lips said second, but I didn't hear him. Any discussion?
I'd like to point out a couple things. One is that, again, this is money coming from the federal government to fund health services for those who haven't insurance or otherwise can't afford to pay for their own health insurance. And it's rewarding to me. I remember when Medicaid, or Obamacare we called it, first happened, all the money went to, ultimately to the customers. And it increased the demand for medical services to the point we didn't have enough professionals or providers to take care of the newly created demand.
And it turned out you couldn't keep your doctor.
And you couldn't keep your doctor. So this is, I find this very rewarding, pleasing that the government is now taking care of they've taken care of the supply side. They increased it. Now they got to create enough help to take care of well, not the other way around. They're taking care of the supply side of providing medical and mental health care. So I'm all for this.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, so let's go back to the regular agenda schedule and pick up the other lates after that. I'm seeing. Okay. So this brings us to 3O, and Mr. Slater requests board approval of ODOT delivered federal project 73,000-00017,989 for Libby Lane paving project. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. This is a 2-mile paving overlay project on Libby Lane. Starts at Southwest Boulevard and goes up to the top of the hill and ties into the last overlay that was done up there. I'm just asking that the board approve this agreement with ODOT to deliver the project.
Okay, I move that we approve and assign agreement number 73000-00017,989 with ODOT for delivering the Libby Lane paving project on behalf of Coos County. Again, this is federal money coming to us via the state. Is that not correct?
Yes, it's federal highway funding coming through ODOT. ODOT has to deliver the project. We're not a certified county to do it.
Okay.
It's $608,000. It's significant.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, 3P, request board approval of amendment numbers 1 to our IGA number 73,000-0002963 on the ODOT delivered federal project for the Coos County Sandy Creek Emergency Relief Project.
So this one, I believe we've talked about a few times. It's an ongoing culvert failure project on Sandy Creek at about milepost 2.7. ODOT, again, has to deliver that project. It's federally funded through the Emergency Relief Program. This change, there's actually a few changes in this amendment. One is changing the county contact from my predecessor, John Rowe, to myself. Another is changing the budget and total cost from the 2.1 million to 2.6, 6.58. And then the changes in cost were due to some design changes as the consultant and ODOT went through the design requirements, and also to some right-of-way requirements. We're going to have some temporary right-of-way out there on an adjoining owner to build a temporary bypass road.
I move we approve and sign the amendment to our intergovernmental agreement number 73,000-0002963 with ODOT for the Sandy Creek Emergency Relief Project.
Second.
We got a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3Q, request BOC approval to purchase a used 2005 Komatsu HM400 articulated off-highway truck for $80,000 from Main Rock Products.
This truck would be primarily used up at our rock quarry operation on Weekly Creek. We obtained 4 quotes on different trucks, all used. This one had the lowest hours and was also the lowest cost, and it just happens to be local as well. And we had our mechanics and a couple of our operators go out and take a look at it in person and check it out before we came forth to the board.
And this was in your budget as well?
And it also is in our budget.
Yes.
I move we approve the purchase of a used 2005 Komatsu HM 400 articulated haul truck for $80,000 from Maine Rock Products, July 1, 2023.
Second, and I'm not related.
No relation to Commissioner Maine. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3R, request approval to purchase a 2024 Mower Max Boom Mower in the 23-24 budget.
So this is another line item that's in our upcoming budget. Something that's not in this agenda item, but I wanted to mention was we have an opportunity if we purchase this right away to save $5,000 on shipping, because BLM is also buying one and they would be shipped out at the same time on the same truck.
Yeah, that's a good deal. It is in here, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, maybe it's better than you thought you did.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, we're just requesting approval from the board to buy that Mower Max brush. It's a brush cutter / mower. It'll do both. Has an extendable boom that'll reach further than any machine we've had in the past. And it's built in a different way. We've had a lot of ongoing maintenance issues with the current style of brush cutters that we've been using for the last 20 plus years. So we're wanting to try a completely different one. Curry County, there's about 4 counties, Curry being the closest, as well as the local BLM maintenance shop that's been using these machines now for over a year, and they've had good success with them and they've been reliable. So.
Okay.
I move we approve the purchase of a new Mower Max boom mower for the 2023-24 budget from Max Equipment Company at a price not to exceed $275,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
3S. Request to start new hire above step 2.
So we recently hired Michael Spencer as a Fleet Service 1 position in the road department. He comes to us with 7 years of automotive technician experience, as well as over a year of heavy equipment experience. And so we'd like to start him at step 4 rather than step 2.
Okay.
I move that we permit starting Michael Spencer at a step 4 of pay scale 807.
Second.
Any discussion? I just want to say for those in the audience that the demand for this type of people who can run this machinery and do a good job is very, very high. And so we've had difficulty hiring at the lower steps. So this is a necessary thing to do to get good help. It's just a fact of life these days.
You get what you pay for, as long as you're paying attention. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And 3T.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. This is going, Jody, good morning. Good morning. Approval of amendment to prosecuting attorney's contract.
So I'm Jody Newby. I'm the Chief Deputy District Attorney here for Paul Frazier, who cannot be here today. This is, I believe, kind of interconnected with the late agenda item. Do you want to talk about it all together? Or do you want to break up?
Let's go. Yeah, I mean, we can. Well, let's do them not together,
okay,
but in series. We'll jump back to that. So let's stick with this 3T for right now.
So my understanding of 3T is to insert the new pay raises into the Deputy DA union contract that were discussed at the work group.
Okay. Yeah.
I move we approve the amendment to the Prosecuting Attorneys Association collective bargaining agreement effective July 1, 2023, and have the board sign that agreement.
Second.
First and a second.
Board
any,
chair, excuse me.
Any discussion? Mr. Taylor.
This goes back kind of to the road closures and what Mr. Jennings said about the, the breakdown of our social justice, that's the problem, too much social justice, our equal justice system and the justice system overall. I understand the perplexities that you're facing because hiring district attorneys who want to come out to this area, I believe they're called deputy attorneys, aren't they, not assistant attorneys?
Deputy district attorneys.
Deputy district attorneys. And so this is something that you're increasing the pay on these. You have no choice but to increase the pay on these because you're facing competition that if you don't, you will lose these people. You're going to lose good qualified people. And you're also facing the 2.6 deficit. This is only going to contribute to that. And in the end, when all's said and done, if we do a tax, you're really going to have to do some type of tax. And this is my worry on this. If it's too high, that people aren't going to have a vote for it. And if you don't do one that's high enough, you're not going to be able to open up that pod in the jail. So it just seems like this is just a circular mess that you got here, because the more you try to hire new people, the more in debt you're going to go on top of the deficit you're already running, and then you're going to have to come to the taxpayers and ask for more money and still not be able to offer anything new because you're paying for the old. Does that make sense, I guess?
Yeah, that totally makes sense, and that's of course attractive. It's incumbent on us as the board to avoid.
Except that we're not paying for the old.
But you're paying for the deficit, which is the old.
No, we're not. Because that's already paid for out of reserves.
It's true.
So our reserves are getting skinnier. Over time, we would want to increase, improve. But if there is new money, it would go specifically to current wages.
But if you when you run out of the reserves, you're going to still have that deficit, correct?
We will have a deficit.
No, we won't have a deficit. We'll have. We're just spending each day more than each year more than we're currently taking in.
But that will create a deficit down the road that you won't be able to cover.
Because it's being paid for. We have reserves that will pay for this year.
John, that don't make sense. We're talking about these 2 years are covered by the ARP funds, but after that runs out, the third year you're still going to have a deficit, right?
Yes, we will.
Okay, so at that point, we're going to have to come up with.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
You're right. I don't think it's going to last to the third year.
Okay, all right, and so. We just talked about Coos Health and Wellness and all the federal money that's going to Coos Health and Wellness. It's just disturbing to a lot of us that it seems like that agency is getting a lot of attention, a lot of money from the federal government, and it doesn't seem like they're pulling their fair share in the legal system, because the people that they represent in the healthcare system are also a large part of the legal system, which is tying up the seats in the jail. And so have you talked to them, and because I believe you talked about this in the town hall, about getting them into the jail so that they could have mental health places to hold people, like a holding facility for people on drugs or alcohol?
They do provide mental health services to the jail, at least they did. Are you still doing that, Mike?
Yeah, we still provide some.
Yeah, yeah. So we do that, and their goal is to keep these people from coming back, or people to whom, we used to do a lot of programs here to take care of the mentally ill and provide them a place to live, provide them counseling. So they have lots of programs that they're doing to keep them from going to jail. And we even extend those programs into the jails.
And that's what I'm saying, what's in the jail, and can we expand the jail holding for more people so that when they are prosecuted,
that's exactly what we're hoping to do, and that's why we're also raising the deputies' pay so that we have enough money allocated to attract new deputies.
And keep the new ones that are incoming into the system still working through DPSST.
Wow, yeah, this is.
It's a chore.
It's a problem. It's a chore. It's a problem. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
I appreciate you bringing it up because all of our citizens need to be aware of this.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any other discussion on this topic? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now we can move to that. Did you want to go to 5F next? Is that what you were thinking?
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
5G.
And then we got 5G also. Okay, so 5F, approval of pay adjustments, pay grades 830 and 716. And
yes, so
Captain Sandor, good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead.
So with kind of what we were talking about just a minute ago, we currently, like we talked about in the work group, we have three deputy district attorneys, myself, who's the chief deputy district attorney, and then Paul Frazier. Typically we have 8 in the office, so we have been 3 short for a very long time because we've been unable to attract people to our office. We haven't hired anyone in about a year. So this is a problem that's going on all over the state of Oregon. So hopefully this will help make us more competitive. Hopefully this will keep us or give us the opportunity to keep the people that we train and that start here in Coos County. So that is really our goal. And then kind of in concert with the sheriff's office, hopefully we can start making some progress and getting to all the crimes that we need to get to, because we're just incredibly short-staffed because we can't recruit talent, basically.
I move we approve the amended pay scales 830 and 716, sign resolution 2306-138P, addressing pay adjustments for the captain and chief deputy district attorney positions effective July 1, 2023. The DA doesn't get this, he works for the state.
All right. Okay, we have a first and a second. Any conversation about this?
I would simply add that the district attorney's office, if my numbers are still correct, are about 1,500 cases behind. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we need the DAs and we need the jail space to incarcerate those that are convicted. One without the other doesn't do us any good. It's a package.
Yep. Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and let's see, 5G. Intergovernmental Cooperative Agreement number 23253.
Hi.
Hi.
This is the intergovernmental cooperative agreement with the Department of Justice to procure parentage testing, LabCorp, to establish paternity. And we request approval of the IGA with the state and authorize the chair to sign.
Okay, thank you, Daniela.
I move we approve the IGA with the state of Oregon, authorized chair to sign. And the number is 23253.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, you're welcome. Okay, so now sticking with who we got up here, let's go back to 3U and work it that way.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'd like to start off by letting our citizens know that we are aggressively hiring, and I would even hazard to say desperately hiring to open up our jail completely. that it is a priority of the sheriff, and every new hire that we get, every single one, unless they're lateral to patrol, is going to the jail.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Captain. So approval of amendment to the CADS contract.
Yes, this is a kind of in line with what we just discussed with attracting and retaining qualified personnel to the Coos County Sheriff's Office by instituting pay increases to our wage scales, existing wage scales, in order to retain and hire qualified personnel.
Okay.
I move we approve the amendment to the CADS collective bargaining agreement effective July 1, 2023, and authorize the board chair to sign.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion?
Please do.
Hearing only that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And looks like maybe this is the last one for you, Captain, today. 3V, Transfer of Appropriations Resolution 2306-129B.
Yes, this is a request to transfer expenditure of appropriations within animal control. This past year, as we've seen with everything else, we've seen a dramatic increase in the amount it costs in order to spay and neuter animals. That being said, our estimates for last year's budget did not hold up through this year, so we're requesting funds to be transferred for that and also to take care of the vehicle.
Okay.
And I move we approve and sign resolution 2306-129B, transferring, what do we have here? $8,675 from personnel services to other expense, electricity, vehicle expense, and the spay neuter program.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Sanborn.
Oh. Hold on.
Let me find it.
We got you. Let's keep you there.
5 what? Oh, here it is. Approval of resolution transferring employee. This is approval of resolution 2306-140P, transferring employee Joshua Godin from the maintenance department to the Sheriff's Corrections Division effective June 5.
Yes, so we are not above poaching even within the county. And that being said, we did hire Josh Godin over to the sheriff's office as a corrections deputy from maintenance. So we're requesting that he be moved appropriately.
All right. Is he maintaining the situation over there? So far, so good?
I think some things are getting fixed.
Whoa. He brought tools with him? Wow.
Send me back on his spare time.
That's right.
Ron,
and with his new skill set he's picked up over there, maybe he can deal with some commissioners.
Would you do the motion? I shuffled through my papers. I haven't found this yet.
I move that the board approve and sign resolution 2306-140P for transfer of employee to CCSO duties effective June 5, 2023.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Captain Sanborn. I think that was it for you, right?
I think so.
Okay. So let's, moving on to 3W. IT, is Darius here? Oh, it's fair. Sorry, it's not IT. Lease with Evergreen Crest for horse barn renovations at the fairgrounds. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
So the Evergreen Quest is a local nonprofit. They have received donations and funds to replace the roofing on what are commonly known as the 4-H horse barns. Part of the condition of the construction and one of the major grants is that they have site control of the work area, and so this is at least passing site control until the project's done.
Right, very good. Motion?
Move approval.
Second? Any discussion? That's how you get a $1 lease. You volunteer to replace a roof. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Rod, I excuse myself.
Commissioner Sweet, thank you.
So long.
Thank you very
Sorry
much.
for leaving early.
Safe travels. Glad you could join us today.
Honored to be here.
Moving on to 3X, approval of the collective bargaining agreement. Council?
Yeah, so the current collective bargaining agreement with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, what we call AFSCME, will expire on June 30th, 2023. I've been working with Caroline to negotiate a new agreement. We've reached a new agreement which would be effective July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025. So we're asking the board approve and sign the new collective bargaining agreement with AFSCME.
Okay, move to approve and sign collective bargaining agreement with AFSCME dated July 1, 23 through June 30th of 25.
And I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 3Y, Order 2306030L, approving transfer of a solid waste collection franchise from J&L Sanitation, Inc. to Waste Connection of Oregon, Inc.
Okay, so we received a request from J&L Sanitation to transfer their solid waste collection franchise within the county's jurisdiction to Waste Connections of Oregon, Incorporated. I believe that they also had a franchise within the city of Myrtle Point that I believe was also already been approved by the city of Myrtle Point. Waste Connections is already providing garbage services in the county. It's fully qualified to hold a franchise. The same rates that are currently charged by J&L Sanitation would apply after Waste Connections takes over their franchise.
Very good.
I'll move to approve order 23-06-030L, matter approving transfer of solid waste collection franchise from J&L Sanitation to Waste Connections of Oregon, Inc. And I might say, Mr. Chair, that J&L over the 30-some years has done a wonderful job collecting solid waste from the Myrtle Point and greater areas. They need to have a commitment.
Good, thank you for that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. 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 Okay. 5H, approval of job description. Caroline here. Okay, I'll take care of this. This is an approved. Oh, you are here. Sorry about that, Caroline.
Sorry, hiding in the back.
Yes.
As I like to do. Pull it up. All right, a request board approval of a revised job description for our IT director. The IT director is going to take on overarching responsibilities for our county's maintenance department. As you know, we haven't had a maintenance manager since Mike Hagan left in November of last year, and this takes care of that. And the revisions include adding overarching responsibility for the county's IT department as well, the full IT department. And based on the revision, request board approval to classify the position under pay grade 792, which takes into account the increased responsibility and job duties that the position will be performing, and approve reclassifying Darius Boudelier to step 5 plus 3% longevity effective today's date, and sign resolution 23-06-139P.
Motion?
Mr. Chair, I do not have that particular motion on my cell phone. I'd have to flip back through other emails to get it, and by that it'd be too long. If you'd read it, please.
I move to approve reclassification of IT director effective June 20, 2023, and approve the revised job description of IT director / maintenance operations manager and pay grade 792 to recognize additional responsibilities of the position, and approve resolution 2306-139P.
Second.
Any discussion? Megan, come on down.
I just have a question on the effective date. We're changing, reclassing on effective June 20th.
That's today.
Okay.
Is that workable for you?
It's difficult, but we can do it.
Probably easier if you do it on the 1st.
Yeah, the 1st or June 1st or July 1st.
Can we modify?
Yeah, but we'd have to, from the 1st through the 20th, you'd be on one pay grade, and then the 20th through the 30th, you'd be on a different pay grade.
I certainly don't mind going back to June 1st. It's, to be honest, Darius has been kind of semi-performing these duties since June 1st anyway.
Okay, let's modify this item to say June 1st instead of June 20th. And I will amend my motion thusly.
Second the adjustment.
Second the adjustment. Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. And this is actually the one I was looking for. This is the last one. 5I. PEG Broadcast Services Agreement. Commissioner Main?
Like I said, I don't have that. I'd have to go find it in the other emails.
Okay, I misunderstood. Great.
In the future, maybe, Mr. Chair, in the future, maybe we could have all the late agenda items and all the regular agenda items on one email, so you can see them all for anybody that's online, like myself or anybody else, so they could read them all at one time.
Yes, on one PDF file. Good. Okay.
Excuse me.
Duly noted. Yes, sir.
Bobby did post an update when she got them. It's on our website as an revised. So they are available.
I know, but they are just, the late agenda items are one email and the regular agenda items are on a different email. Anyhow, could we go ahead?
Yes, let's move on. So, did you want to speak to this at all, Commissioner Main, or do you want me to handle this?
Go ahead.
All right, so this is for subscription services agreement for the videotaping and airing of these meetings that we're all enjoying right now. There's been no price increase for the past several years, and this agreement is requesting to approve the PEG Broadcast Services Agreement in the amount of $6,240. So I will move to approve this agreement as stated.
I second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
I am always amazed at how many people go online and look at that.
Yeah. And nobody with a camera is jumping up to volunteer to do it for free, so I suppose we should go ahead and vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that wraps up our agenda items. So we need to move to the consent agenda.
Chair, I would move to approve the consent items.
I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Okay. And let's see, what else did we have here? We got all the late agenda items. Okay. I think we're up for commissioner reports. Commissioner Main?
Let me look back here. We had a work session about our strategic investment plan with what to do with, of course, we discussed that already about the pay scale for DAs and deputy sheriffs. And we did that raise, hoping we will be competitive in the marketplace so we can prosecute more cases and have more beds in the jail for folks who need time out. Did participate in an ONC meeting. Nope. Let me look back here. Did participate in a salary adjustment for the 10-mile Eel watershed manager, which was the pay for that manager was woefully low, and so the three executive officers made a change to that salary. We also did we already did that certificate part ribbon cutting for the human-powered trolleys. And I think that's about it, actually.
Okay. And you're currently enjoying 84 degrees and 82% humidity.
Yeah, it's raining at the moment.
Nice, okay. Commissioner Maine accurately stated we did have a work session on the strategic investment plan. Looking forward to seeing the effects of that Roseburg lumber investment into our community. Also, I participated in the Association of Oregon Counties Public Safety Steering Committee meeting, and we evaluated a number of pieces of legislation and recommended thumbs up, thumbs down to the committee, to the legislative committee, that is. And those votes did not all go the way that I thought they should, but it doesn't always work that way. Last week, participated in a ribbon cutting at GMA Garnet. They are occupying a space in the Port of Coos Bay. They brought in their first ship all the way up the river, bringing a massive load of garnet. I forget how many hundreds of tons were in there, or thousands of tons. An amazing operation that employs, I think, around 35 or 40 people in Coos County. And they're a long-established company doing business in South Africa, on the East Coast, and here. They're a great asset to the community, and I was really excited to see that. We were also involved in the AOC Legislative Committee meeting. And then last Wednesday, I went to a meeting with FEMA concerning the National Flood Insurance Program. This happened in Coos Bay at the library. And my wife and I went, and you know, it was really disappointing. This is FEMA coming in and talking about changing the way that our flood zones are laid out, and how that affects the accessibility of flood insurance for the people in Coos County. And I gotta say, I was disappointed. There were 3 other people in the room. So there were 5 members of the public, including me, and 3 people from FEMA. And I mean, this is very impactful stuff. So I don't know what we need to do to get our people more involved, but you know, we do what we can to represent the citizens of this county and protect our interests. But it would be more helpful if we had more people there. So anyway, FEMA is working through this, and the time is ripe. If you're interested in having input on this, please reach out to me, call me or email me, and I can send you a link to where you can establish make some comments. And then the end of last week, I was at my final installment of County College at the Association of Oregon Counties. And we went to the state hospital, learned quite a bit about mental health care and other aspects of health care in the state. I've got some grave concerns, learned some really neat tricks that are going to help me in this role. And I'm very appreciative to the Association of Oregon Counties and the leadership there. Gina Nickel, the director, does a phenomenal job, and her staff organizing the classes that we're going to participate in. This has been 3 days for each of the last 5 months, -1. So there's a lot of travel and time involved and a lot of digesting information, but it's been very helpful, instructive. And so now that I've graduated County College, look out. All right. I think that's all I have for today. So let's move right into citizen comments. Phil Thompson, would you care to step up first? You're on the list. You're going to wait till Wednesday. Okay, very good. Thank you. Matt Wilbanks.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Matt Wilbanks, Coos Bay. The main topic I wanted to bring up was in relation to the homeless response office. I just watched their work group meeting from, I believe it was the 14th. I'll just say right off the bat, Andrew Brainerd, who's running that office, is an excellent guy. This is nothing against him at all. If anything, I think he may not be being supported properly, or maybe in a little over his head with how government works. I watched that video, and my first concern is that David Milliron, the city manager for North Bend, he basically ran the meeting. David is the director, or sorry, excuse me, Andrew is the director of that office. I think he should be in charge and monitoring and running those meetings. Mr. Milliron, through his extensive experience in corruption, I'll say, he knows how to manipulate things. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at. Andrew needs more autonomy in running what he's been given charge of. The second concern is when they released that study or whatever, I forget exactly what it's called. There's a PDF on the homeless work group website, on the Coos County website. There's a section in there regarding their contact with faith-based organizations. The lady who contacted the faith-based organizations to try and bring them into the fold of this homeless response is Barb Milliron, David Milliron's wife. I understand, people are allowed to get involved in their community, volunteer where they want. My issue here is that he's the city manager, he's a voting member of this work group. His wife, who in that document was simply labeled a volunteer, she's now describing herself as working for the Devereaux Center. She is a voting member in that work group. As far as I'm concerned, that's a conflict of interest. The city of North Bend provided grant funding to the Devereaux Center. So not only are they both voting members in that work group, the city that he's in control of is providing money to the organization that she works for. I don't like it. The other major concern I have here, and I've said it 1,000 times, is the Devereaux Center. Much of the discussion during this work group meeting was how to take homeless people, get them the treatment they need if they're drug addicted, alcohol addicted, mental health issues, etc., get them into something like pallet housing, and then eventually get them into intermediate housing. So there's a large discussion about this whole process. The Devereaux Center, the way it is currently run, should not be the starting point for anything related to homeless response in Coos County. If you have a little child and he can't clean up his room, then he doesn't get his cookies later on. You don't reward bad behavior. The Devereaux Center frequently has drug use, drug sales. I had a friend the other day that was watching a homeless man beat his dog in the parking lot. I had another friend who was looking for his lost dog and watched another person using methamphetamine in their parking lot. This is a frequent daily occurrence. They should not be extending themselves into other areas. If they have funding for that, they should instead be using that funding to properly control their own property and the actions that occur on their own property before they try to extend themselves into something else. It should not, they shouldn't be rewarded if they can't keep themselves clean. One of the other commenters earlier brought up Bay Area First Step. Bay Area First Step is just down the road from the Devereaux Center. They control what is the old Empire Motel there. I don't know exactly what goes on there. It's some kind of intermediate housing for people with addiction issues. I patrol that area frequently with the Neighborhood Watch. I have never seen one single problem with BAFS's property. Not a single one. You would expect that somebody who was in there for opium counseling or whatever would occasionally fall off the wagon, that there'd be drug dealers out front or whatever. Never seen it. Yet the Devereaux Center can't control their own property. Very disturbing to me. The other issue that I want to bring up is Rob and I, we discussed it on the radio. You were on 1 hour. I discussed within the second hour, is the homeless industrial complex. The county, through Governor Kotek's program or whatever you want to call it, Coos County and several other rural counties had to apply for that funding because we weren't initially granted it. They only granted that funding to the major counties. And I said it on the radio and I'll say it again, you're being bought off with your own money. They're taking your tax money and instead of just giving it back to you and letting you use it how Coos County wants to use it, they're creating a program with guidelines. Hey, if you follow these, we'll give you this money. Then that money is going to organizations like Devereaux that can't even control their own properties. They're getting in league, these 501c3s are getting in league with the city of North Bend, city of Coos Bay, Coos County in general. Rob has mentioned his concern with Coos Health and Wellness, that if we detached the control of Coos Health and Wellness, you as a board would lose control over them. You'd lose control of their purse strings, okay? We have the same issue, but from the other side with an organization like Devereaux. You already don't have control of their purse strings because they're a 501, but we're granting them authority in this homeless, whatever you want to call it. So you're inviting them in and you have no control over them. So that's a serious issue as far as I'm concerned. This whole thing needs to be looked at. Andrew needs more control over that work group. The people in that work group need to be looked on and seen if there's any conflict of interest. This is just something the public needs to know about. Thank you.
Thank you. Dick Moore, next on the list.
I'm gonna pass.
You're gonna, got it, very good. Pam?
Pam Lewis, Coquille. Side note to what I wanted to talk to you about this morning is if there's any way we could clone, duplicate, replicate what Matt does as a neighborhood watch program for our Fairview, for our outliers. Wow, I'd like to find a way to replicate him.
How about it, Matt? You got any clone prospects?
Hey, that's why we created the group.
All right, yeah.
What do you say all the time?
We are the leaders we've been waiting for.
Yes.
Yep. Show me somebody who's willing to take it up in those areas, and we'll share the stuff in their group.
Very
Okay.
good. Thank you,
All right.
Pam.
All right, so I wish to ask for some help, and I have some suggestions for fix. I don't like to come and gripe and then not have a fix. We got to go camping with a 6-year-old grandson because he's fun out at Laverne Park, one of my favorite places. I'm a Fairview brat, happily to be called such. And we all know that Fairview, that Laverne is one of the favorite warm parks versus the windy parks on the beach. We have a speeding problem. We all know this, that if you've ever been there. So it's supposed to be 25 miles an hour from one end of the park to the other. I would promise you, there was many that went at least 50. And we have, I think we were at a full capacity when we got the last spot to camp there. So we got little kids running everywhere, dogs in a lot of places. It was a full park with a Father's Day weekend, lots of barbecue, lots of beer, and we've got a lot of traffic driving way too fast. I have some solutions. I will leave and also follow up with an email. Governor Kotek, I don't know if she did anything well, but this may be one, has given all Oregon cities permission to install speed cameras. I was out there in my brain thinking I was going to talk to Paul about speed bumps, but that's a little unkind to people pulling trailers into the park to have speed bumps. But here's permission to have speed cameras that issue tickets. I'm thinking we should look at this for maybe let Laverne Park be our subject of, you know, what's the right word?
Test case.
Our test case for parks in different areas, since we don't have a lot of county officers that can run maintenance, you know, through there, and have a solution for issuing the tickets. Get enough tickets, people stop driving that speed through the park. And it isn't just people coming in with trailers, it's also folks that live on past. They're accustomed to the road, they drive pretty doggone fast. I'd like to see a little bit of help there and support for the county workers. The host and the caretaker shared their concerns about not being able to control the speed of people driving through. The next one was dog enforcement. I had my big dog, y'all seen my big dog, out on a walk, took him to the boy department where you do the boy dog thing, and walked across the road only to have a Doberman, which isn't the Doberman's fault, attack my dog. Got loose, okay, because he wasn't properly leashed, and raced after. And I wasn't so sure he wasn't gonna nail me. I watched, I've got some knowledge about dogs. Grover ran like crazy to a safe place and got away from that dog before, because he got away from me. He weighs more than I do, so he got away from me. And we talked to the park host and caretaker, who doesn't have permission to write tickets for dogs off leash. How do we remedy that? I know it's a legal issue. I know maybe Gabe can help us with that, but if we have a $50 fine for every registered camper who he notices is a dog off leash, and they just mail the tickets to the people who are registered in the campsites, mayhaps we would get some dogs back on leash in the park appropriately. Okay. So apparently the gentleman that we spoke with talked about last year we had a mauling of a little girl in the face, dog bite. I know John's really pro safety, me too. That's totally unacceptable. Dogs are not humans. Humans are valuable. Dogs are precious and they're pets, but they need to be under control in this kind of a setting. So I don't have any law. I didn't pull up a law about ticketing dogs off leash, but I do have for you two, back to the speeding situation, two companies that provide camera ticketing supplies, Governor Kotek's, what I've given you permission for. I will follow it up with an email so that I can follow up with, please help our parks be a little bit better under control so that it's safe and we all can have fun camping, because we want that to happen. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Pam. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Marty Kurt.
Oh, the fan base is one. Hi, Marty Kurt, Band in Oregon. Oh, okay, two. Marty Kurt, Band in Oregon. Actually, everything I was going to say had to do with the roads, so I will table it until Wednesday. That's it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, Dennis Moorfield.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Morning
still.
Pardon?
Morning still.
Is it morning
Yeah,
still?
just barely.
Dang.
Don't look at that clock.
My, how time flies when we're with friends and having fun.
Yes.
I'm a relatively new resident of Coos County, but not Oregon. I've been in Coos County for 7, 8 years now. I retired here, bought a place over on the east side that was in need of more than a new dress, so to speak, as I discovered. And in the process, of course, I've run into a few issues. I ended up getting permits for tearing down and reconstructing part of the house. It was just too rotten to repair. And in the process of that, there were, of course, quite a number of issues. I can do most of the work myself, at least in terms of competence to do the work. But physically, there were a number of hurdles because of health issues that showed up. In the process of all of that, the permits for structural are from the city of Coos Bay. Okay. They have been very good in that. The permits are for 180 days, and then may be extended. They've been very good about sending notices when those extensions, or when that was coming up. Electrical and plumbing, however, were through the state originally. And as you know, that was recently taken over by the county. Well, due in part to some of my health issues, COVID delays, I missed the 180-day renewal dates, in part because there are no notices that those are going to expire. And I would ask that you consider, now that that is under the county, that notices for expiration of permits be sent. In the process of all of this, I've had to review as much of the regulations, law, statutes, so on, as I could. And in that process, that was another thing in itself, because those are not something that you can go online, download, and then take home and read. It turns out that they're copyrighted. And as a consequence, that is very limited. What I did find that Oregon Revised Statutes did not specify a length of time that a construction project must terminate, only that the permits last 180 days and may be extended. The point being that projects should not be abandoned, I believe. In Oregon Residential Specialty Codes, I did not find any reference to requiring a construction project to have a definite limit of time requirement. I did find that in that specialty code, R 105.3, I believe, application for permit no time to complete. And also that Oregon Revised Statute 455.210 addresses fees, appeals, waivers, and reduced fees can be done. Also, back to the specialty code, R 108.5, refunds and such things are authorized the building official is authorized to do so. And I would like to see a policy from the commissioners that regarding notices.
Okay.
Because an awful lot of my difficulties at the moment would have been resolved if I had gotten some kind of a notice that these were going to expire.
Okay.
I'm currently looking at a very large amount of money to renew the permits as if, for all practical purposes, they are new permits. And I have appealed that, asked for a waiver. I don't know what's going to happen on that as yet. But I would like to see the commissioners address that at some point.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Yes, and I noticed that the Director of Community Development was furiously writing while you were making your comments. So I'm sure that more conversations will be forthcoming.
That's someone I have not yet consulted with, but we'll see.
Yes, yes. Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moorfield. I appreciate that. Charlotte Carver, you have more? Okay.
Hi, Charlotte Carver from Bandon, member of the Alcohol and Drug Planning Committee. I already made most of the comments I wanted to make about opioid settlement funds, but just while I'm here, wanted to highlight that we have a meeting. All of our Alcohol and Drug Planning Committee meetings are open to the public, so the public is welcome to join. We have a meeting scheduled later this week, but next week we have a meeting on the calendar for Thursday on June 29th, where we will be going over some of the information that we've been compiling over needs, priorities for alcohol and drug and addiction services in Coos County. And that meeting is taking place here. The commissioners are planning to attend. And thank you, Commissioner Taylor, for organizing that. The public is welcome to join, and we would appreciate your attendance if you're interested in learning more. And just there's a lot of momentum and funding resources that we haven't had in the past to address this problem. So really want to this is one of the things that we can feel positive about, that there are some things that are on the horizon that will help address this problem. So looking forward to sharing more with the public and the commissioners in the future.
Very
Thanks.
good. Thank you, Charlotte. And LADPC has been doing good work. I was delighted to join your meeting a couple of weeks ago and learned quite a bit. Looking forward to seeing you all on the 29th as well. Thank you. Okay, Brian Gibson. Belinda Gibson.
Yes, Brian had to go. Okay, I am Belinda Gibson. I live in Coos Bay, and we have an RV park, beach-bound RV park in Charleston. And we've been having a multitude of issues and delays. It started pretty much with the planning office. My husband's from Washington, but I'm from California. Can't help that, that's where I was born. And the first thing that was done was California was put on the top of our paperwork at the planning office. And from there, things have really gone downhill. The holdups we're having now is the water, the electrical, and the bathrooms. The issues with the water, we need to have water spigots at every single site. And we had water spigots at every single site. We have 45 camping sites. And we were told that we had to take them out. We were allowed to keep a couple because I've got a lot of plants and flowers and things that I've planted. But I'll tell you that people won't stay at our park if we do not have water available to them. The reason we were given that we can't have the water is that people will take their gray water and just stick it outside their camper and just pour it out into the ground. And yet they had us put in 7 gray water sumps that are strategically placed and well marked. So and also in our rules, we have something about, not just dumping your water into the ground. But the building codes department agreed with this philosophy that people can just dump out the water, and told us that, they're backing up the DEQ. And my husband was a welder pipe fitter for many years and has traveled all over the United States in his RV and has been to more RV camps than he could count. And he says he's never seen people just dump their water outside their RV. And we have it in the rules that you can't do that. We also have a legitimate way of removing water because we have a honey wagon for the black water and brown water. We're very responsible people who are going to handle the water issues and the dumping issues. But it's very confusing that we are allowed to have something and then it's taken away, and then the reason why it's taken away really isn't a very legitimate reason, and it's a little insulting to be treated like we don't know what we're doing and we're going to just let people do whatever they want. By the way, we're very dog friendly and every dog has to be on a leash. So the honey wagon is an approved way of getting rid of the water on the site, and like I said, there's rules for that. We have had to put in the tanks. It started out with 5,000 gallons. It went up to 8,000 gallons. It then went up to 11,000 gallons. And now it's at 13.5 thousand gallons of tank capacity for our gray water and our black water. The only required amount is 4,200 gallons for the gray water and the black water. We've also are putting in drain fields, and then we're told that we cannot have a dump station, and yet the county park right next to us has 2 dump stations, and they have water spigots at every site, and this is pretty much cutting us off at the knees. People will not come to our park if they do not have water available to them, or if they can't dump their waste. So yes, we're going to have a honey wagon to help them with their waste, but we feel kind of cut off at the knees when we're simply not being allowed to function as a fully functioning RV park. In the Lux planning, there was accommodation for having chemical restrooms, and we were told we cannot open without permanent restrooms. So we've gotten permanent restrooms. There was no communication about how big they needed to be. So we have permanent restrooms. We are also putting in ADA restrooms. These are prefabricated restrooms, which are really quite lovely, and are secured to a concrete foundation, and are piped and everything. So we're doing everything right, but we should have been allowed to have temporary restrooms while we continued building. We could, create some revenue by being open, and we could keep moving forward. But we get so many delays, and then so many of these delays are costing us, tens, if not $100,000 in each delay. And we've invested a lot of money in this park. We're trying to become part of the community, and we will contribute a lot to the community, and I think that's important to keep in mind. Let's see, I'm sorry, I'm making sure I include everything.
Well,
yes.
Yes. So we're, we do. I appreciate all the issues that you've raised, and of course, I have some familiarity with your project as well. In the interest of moving along, I do want to acknowledge that that your situation has come up in internal conversations, and I believe there is a will generally to get you moved along. I personally do believe that you should have been granted the ability to use temporary restrooms to be open this season. I think it's it's terribly disappointing that you're not open right now. But I would like to see that happen as soon as possible. You know, and I'll revisit again that as a county, every one of our departments that's involved with permitting the public, the citizens, the people for any endeavor that they're engaged in, we should always be looking for the most expeditious and direct route to the yes. That's where we should be seeking, because that's what enhances our function as a community. So, you know, I guess that's about what I can say in this context. If there's any other,
just a couple of small points to
hit it.
Thank you. So we need our electrical on to continue to get everything up and running where the bathrooms are concerned. And we were told we couldn't get the electrical on until we got the park permit, but we weren't told that for quite some time. So we really want to be open for July 7th. That's the biggest holiday in the summer, and we have to start creating revenue so we can finish the park. The parks provide other businesses with business, the laundromats, the seafood markets, the restaurants in the area. We will be bringing in more people, more business, more taxes. You talk a lot about the financial crunch that the county is in. Well, we will be bringing in taxes, and we can't do that, you know, if we're not open. So we just need a big push to allow us to get open. We are doing everything that's asked. We're doing everything right, and we're doing everything professionally. So we just ask that that this gets pushed through, and we can open in the next week or two. We desperately need to open.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good, thank you. All right, looks like last up is Rich Baxter. Do you have something else to add, Rich?
Well, I've got a little bit I'd like to say. It's my first trip here. I've lived in the county a long time, and I guess it's kind of sad that I've never came over to see how things work here. And found it interesting, but I have to say that I was a little bit disappointed when you cut off the conversation during the road closure thing. I think if people come over here, spend their time to come and comment on something that's being passed, before you pass something, you should listen to all comments.
Okay.
I mean, the people elected you, and elected all of you. And I think that you need to, above all else, listen to the people.
I agree with that. And actually, I'll say during that conversation, I think we entertained somewhere on the order of like 10 different people who had comments on it.
Yeah.
And at the point that we cut it off, we did have an entire stack of agenda items to try to move through, and we moved that to the front of those items in order to expedite those conversations. And when I cut it off, there was not another hand up. So, you know, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, but I think that we did afford ample opportunity. Was there anybody here who wanted to comment on that didn't get a chance?
I think most of them left.
Okay, well, I hope they come on Wednesday, because we'll really have more time available to.
And well, that's kind of what I was wanting to speak to. If you don't have time to address them, I don't feel like it should have been passed if there was other people that wanted to comment. It's kind of like the federal government saying, let's pass the bill and find out what's in it.
No, it's not at all like that. It's not at all like that. And the reason that it's not like that is because we already had a work session on this topic that was pre-announced, that was advertised, that was on the calendar, on the agenda, and you know, we had a very limited number of people that showed up. That's when we had the extended conversations. And that's where we formulated the policy, and we found out exactly what was in it and why. And today was simply passing what we had agreed to in the work session. So it wasn't, today's conversations, we're not going to change that anyway. Okay, it is additional input, it's all valuable, and I think that everyone needs to have a position at the table and an opportunity to voice their concerns.
I think something I didn't know about the previous one, that's maybe my fault, I don't know where you advertise.
Well, it's not fault, Rich, it's just, it is what it is, but yes,
Okay.
if you go to the county website, and right there on the home page, you'll see in the upper left-hand area, you'll see calendar. Okay. You go click on that calendar, you'll see every meeting for the coming week.
Okay.
Because they have to be advertised 5 days in advance. Is that right, Bobby? 5 days?
24 hours.
Oh, 20, okay. So they might pop up faster than that, but, you know, I don't know if we can really change that protocol, but they are announced. They are there, so.
All right. So is there anything that I can read that tells me what actually this closure entails?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to the calendar, look at the meeting announcement. From that meeting announcement is a link to the agenda, and all of the agenda items are accessible there.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
And please don't ever hesitate to call me directly with anything. You know, we've had conversations before, and I know that we have you know, many things that we're similarly concerned about, and so, you know, I enjoy that conversation.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, Rob.
I had the meeting advertised on my website for at least a week, and I sent out my newsletter. And anyone can go to my website. Most of these meetings I will post out myself because I think it's important. I think it's important everyone knows. And like you said, on the county website, on the front page now is the meeting notice.
Yep.
It popped right up when I went to it. All through today's meeting, I was going through the agenda item, and on the agenda item, you can see the resolutions that are written. But like I said, I even got that posted on my website. So you've got to get familiar with the county's website if you want to get involved, because that's how everything is dispersed now. And so there's two things I want to tie in here. The homeless thing, there was the meeting on the Homeless Advisory Committee. Jill's a part of that, aren't you you're a voting member of that. So she spends a lot of time on that, I imagine, and you got to ask her about the David Milliron project. It's secret, I know, but you have to ask her about that. And so he's got a project, and they're wanting to use some Coos Bay urban renewal money, from what I understand. That's what he alluded to. We don't know. I don't know, because they didn't get to say much about it. It was executive session stuff. And she doesn't know, so don't ask her. But he alluded to it. You got to check out the meeting. And I would emphasize what Matt Wilbank said about Mr. Milliron. Very suspect person, and I can't claim of any exact corruption, but there's been some actions by him that I would definitely question. And as far as the planning goes, we did move planning out of the state into the county. And so the county now has to work, and I know this is a real tough problem with you guys, is getting to know all the ins and outs and you know, the how to maneuver the system, the planning and zoning and all that good stuff. But you have a lady over here, Miss Gibson. I went up to that RV park. I had her on the radio because I thought it was important. She had to deal with DEQ. Rod, you know, DEQ. I mean, come on, it's a pain. And especially when you're doing RV parks, it's a pain. And so this is the height of the season. And her RV park is right next to the county park where they have tent camping. I think the park was full that day. I mean, it looked packed. And the restrooms there, well, I don't even have a word for it. Ew, okay? Ew. It was just kind of gross, okay? So she has this beautiful campsite. I think you saw it, didn't you?
I went there as well.
It was beautiful. I mean, it's incredible up there. They've got great property. It overlooks the county. camping site, and I'll tell you what, this is going to bring in big dollar spenders. As someone who has a small business here, we sell our coffee to all of the restaurants, a lot of these golf courses, a lot of these places. These people are going to be the ones buying at these restaurants. They're going to be the ones, they're not like the bicyclists who come through, they eat granola, they leave, they don't come back, and that's it. These are RVers. They've got spots for the little eagle statue, the shirt from Bandon Dunes. And they got room for all this, and they're going to pay a lot of money. We really need to expedite this for this lady. We really need to get whatever we can to help her get open. We need to do this because this is going to help the county, because I know that there's a lot of families that come down here, and Uncle Joe, who, his family may have an RV, but Uncle Joe, he may just go camping. This will supplement what the county is doing up there. I think this is all around is just a great idea. And I think that we need to get a reputation in this county, unlike Bandon. The city of Bandon. We've got to be pro-development. Bandon, Michael Kaiser, one of the richest guys in the county, can't even build a motel in Bandon because that's how screwed up they are. And we need to be able to be development friendly, and we need to be known for being development friendly. So whatever you can do to help all these people, we had 2 different people who were talking about, getting things done. You've got to focus on that, because it seems like we put a lot of effort in a lot of other things, like this homelessness thing, which I'll be honest with you, a lot of it's a bunch of drug derelicts who wouldn't want a home even if you gave it to them. And if you did give it to them, they'll destroy it within 3 months. And I just see that as the industrial complex we were talking about. This is reality. This is business. These are people who are going to be here and putting into this community. Nice. So that's my 3 minutes, I guess.
Thank you very much. Okay, Richard? We're now going beyond the sign-up list because we do want to hear what people have to say.
I've been inspired. Okay, I have something I'd like to say.
Name for posterity, please.
I'm Richard Koznitsky, a long-term denizen of Coos County, long time. A lot of what's been talked about here today has to do with money, with budgets and how, we're going to pay for things.
Yeah.
It is my understanding that the Coos County property tax rate is 1/3 the property tax rate of almost all of Oregon. So that gives us a lot of room to still stay below the average property tax rate and still generate enough capital to, properly fund our county government so it can produce the work we need to have done. If we don't have proper, county work being done, all of our property values, mine included, are going to be lowered, are going to drop.
That's true.
Okay, so I think all of us have to consider.
Richard, we actually.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to address you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think that we have to consider a way of finding that little sweet spot where we're producing enough income to produce the work the county needs done.
Right.
And you guys are our leaders, and I think I feel you guys are somewhat responsible for making that case and putting those numbers together, because it's gonna, if we don't do that or try and come up with interim weird solutions that are, of the moment, our county is gonna suffer long term. So I'm just throwing that out now. I'm probably gonna bring it up again until we have some resolution. Anyway, that's my main thing I wanted to say, okay?
All right,
and the other thing that I'm just gonna throw in is county planning and building permitting. But I'll address that later.
Okay, all right, very good.
Okay, anyway, increasing property taxes will impact me also. But,
Yeah.
You know, we gotta be grown-ups.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. We do have fiscal challenges, and you know, there are a lot of complexities around the tax discussion that we will be having. But I think that almost 3 hours into this meeting is probably not the time to kick up that topic. So I'm not looking really hard for other hands coming up right now. I don't see any popping. So I will say thank you all for being here. This meeting is adjourned.